A few weeks ago, I reviewed the film The Cook, the Thief, His Wife, and Her Lover, praising the film to be beautifully made and entertaining despite all the shocking content that it had. I came across something similar from the film's director Peter Greenaway, but this one is even more severe, and I find myself struggling to determine if I even like it. This film is called The Baby of Macon, released in 1993. This film proved to be too overwhelming, with uncomfortable imagery for the United States to distribute out to the public, and it would be banned for years up until it was first shown in 1997. Let me put this plainly, this movie is extremely fucked up, and it's not meant for everybody to watch. We're going to be dealing with some really sensitive things such as graphic nudity, sexual assault, scrutiny towards religion, and religious authority itself. The list goes on and on. And of course, I'm going to have to give you guys a spoiler alert. In my videos, I go through the entire story, breaking it down piece by piece, leaving very few details out. So with all that out of the way, thank you so much for tuning into Rabbit Hole Entrance. Let's waste no more time and get to the video. Now, this movie is very confusing to understand what is happening and gives very little context. The film takes place in the court of Cosimo, located in France during the 17th century, when the church had high authority over the ruling of the country. Cosimo and his guests are treated with a very unique type of play, where the people of a certain village suffer from infertility, dwindling their numbers. But we witness a miracle happen when a child is finally born again, despite it being conceived by an old and unappealing woman, whose appearance is apparently so bad that she needs to have her face covered from the crowd. And this newborn child is viewed in very high regard, just as the people of the court would if it was a newborn Christ, and therefore it is worshipped as a god and upstages all others in the play. The uniqueness of this play is that members of the court are allowed to jump into it, interact with the actors, halt or even shift the course and the narrative of the play itself. It also requires the audience to get off their seats and move around in order to view every scene. This is what makes it difficult for new viewers, since it distorts what the viewer is supposed to think is reality or is what's just part of an act of the play. But once you have it all figured out, that doesn't mean that the film will begin to get any easier to watch or grasp proper understanding of a certain event, as this film embraces a lot of symbolism, surrealism, and the shock content is really high up there. This is not an easy story to explain. While you understand that you are witnessing a play inside of a movie, the level of depth this goes is very deep. The scenes and the characters of this play are unpredictable, yet original. And I don't just want to narrate every scene of the film, you're just gonna have to be confused in some parts, wondering why this is happening. We will stick to the parts that are most important and memorable. With the exception of Prince Cosimo, no one else in the film has an actual name. They are only regarded by duty title and family position. The purpose of this play is to demonstrate the corruption of people regardless of their class, rich or poor, or whatever position they hold in life, whether that's a farmer, a maid, or even a bishop, which will displease some viewers because I know some people don't like it when the church is put in bad lighting. So in what ways do the characters exemplify the corruption and wickedness of people in the real world? We could start with the father of the child. As soon as his son is born, instead of tending to the child or his wife, he seeks to take advantage of the situation, knowing how desperate the people are to be fertile. He claims to have the solution to unfruitfulness, which he gladly puts it up for sale. Now, greed for the most part is something to be frowned upon, but there are those who view greed as necessary in order to drive a society to flourish and ensure business. But evidently, in this predicament, there is no justification. Lying to the public and exploiting social misfortune for personal gain is an ongoing issue regardless of which type of economy we live under. Another demonstration of greed is the daughter, who is the main character of the film, played by the actress Julia Ormond. Maybe you remember her from Legends of the Fall, or Sabrina. She desires to be rich, and is willing to deceive for it. She spends the next years holding her mother captive and trying to pass herself off as the true mother of the child. And with how the child is hailed as a holy relic himself, she uses him as a tool to offer blessings to the people in exchange for goods and services. She even tries to pass herself off as someone holy as well, as she claims to still be a virgin and a mother, so she too is a miracle and worthy of adoration. This time there are skeptics of her being a virgin and thus also being the true mother of the child. We meet the bishop and his son, played by Ralph Fiennes. I doubt this man needs an intro. He's only referred to as the bishop's son, so in this movie, he too shall not be named. And while on the subject of the bishop and the clergy, let's talk about how they too demonstrate how engulfed they are by greed. Given how the child is viewed as a miracle which would allocate it as holy, the bishop also exploits the boy for riches, by taking fluids from him and auctioning it off as holy relics to the highest bidder, to ensure the continuation of the humble and benevolent Catholic Church. I will explain later in the video how the church was able to get their hands on the child and leave the daughter out in the dust. Now, greed is not the only evil that is presented in the film, but it is the most explicit and meticulous, and I think that has to do with the inclination of the idea that either money or greed is the root to all evil, and it's this avaricious conduct from the people that leads to more terrible events to occur. Let's also talk about the audience, the one inside the film itself, the component that makes itself out to be just like you and me. Well, the only ones who make an impact in the film is Prince Cosimo and his immediate family. The rest of the crowd only watches the spectacle from a distance, no different from either of us. Cosimo shows to be greatly moved by the play, and he too loses sight of what is just an act and what is supposed to be true. Though he makes himself out to be a moral and sweet prince who only cares for the good child, and is a humble servant of God who wants to use his position of government to guarantee the Lord's will be served with no mind paid to anyone who suffers from it, you will not like him. He is pretty cringy with his constant interruptions and need to make input. The fact he can be pretty thick-headed when he forgets none of what he sees is real, but mostly for one egregious act he does later in the film. It's unforgivable and proves the consequences that comes from everyone's greed. Alright, for now I'll leave behind this dark tone and start commending the great qualities of this film. Just like The Cook, the Thief, his wife and her lover, this film is beautifully made. This 2-hour feature takes place entirely in the court, but the details and the constant changing of the stage setups still make it a refreshing view throughout it. The production value and the settings are the best features of the film. I just love how well and elegant placed everything is, and how beautifully it's presented. With films that are difficult to follow, having very intense moments filled with symbolism, it is very beneficial for the scenes to be so nice to look at in order to ease the eyes and engage people to want to see more. When it comes to the acting, it's impeccable. The separation between the actors in the play and the people in the court is glaring and convincing. It even tricks you into forgetting what is part of the play and what is actually supposed to be reality presented in the film. Individually, every main actor and actress made the best that their role demanded. Julia Ormond's performance is my favorite. From the outside, she's a sweet, beautiful woman, but inside, she's full of deceit, lust, and greed. I hate her horrid manner of acting conceited when she has the child in her arms, or how aggressive she gets towards anybody who's skeptical of her being a virgin, yet at the same time being the mother of the child. It's a bit intimidating, to be honest, because you see how manipulative she actually is, and how far she will go in order to get the riches and the laurels she desires. While the bishop and the son are selfish also, they don't give as powerful of a performance as Julia Ormond does. It was interesting seeing Ralph Fiennes at such a young age, but he wasn't in the film all that long, and the bishop was just a little too simple. The performance that compares to Julia Ormond as the daughter is the performance of Prince Cosimo. I hated his character, but he was also convincing, just really made you want to punch the screen and perfectly illustrates how that foul bourgeoisie class of rulers during the medieval times in Europe were like. But I think you guys are more interested in the controversy behind this film. What are the contents in it that led the United States to ban this film when it was first released? One thing you need to know about the director Peter Greenaway is that his films are overpowering with sexuality and fully exposing the human body. If you see my previous review, then you already know about this. Sexuality always plays an important role, and the scenes of nudity or sex are never short. They leave an impression, putting you on edge if not totally putting you out of your comfort zone. Greenaway sees no limit with it, even to the point of violence within sexuality. If the graphic nudity in this film wasn't enough to displease, then the sexual assault will for sure. When the bishop's son does not believe that the daughter is a virgin, nor the mother, she offers to have sex with them to prove that she still is pure. I obviously can't show you much of it because of how much they are exposed, but to any of you Harry Potter aficionados who want to know what Lord Voldemort's magical wand looks like, well, this is the movie for you. It's pretty uncomforting considering that they're doing it in front of a child, but the child orders an animal to kill the bishop's son to maintain the daughter's purity. This is a deal that must be kept, that if the daughter is to become rich and famous from the notion that she is a virgin mother, then she must remain so, or she will be punished. Her desire for sex drives her to anger, then to kill the sacred bull that killed the bishop's son, which breaks the deal that the child had to protect her. Given how the daughter shows to be crazy from the event that just occurred, the bishop cannot take custody and exploit the child for his gains. The jealousy drives the daughter to sneak in, take the child for one final embrace before she suffocates him. This devastating crime has the severity to see her executed, but by law, they cannot execute virgins in that city. But with the much needed help of Prince Cosmus, and I'm being sarcastic when I say that, he comes up with an idea for the bishop that will surely see her put to an end. And just like history would tell, the church and the state, when unified for shared authority, always ends up in absolute catastrophe. Now, this scene is one of the most fucked up things I have ever watched in a movie, and I am not exaggerating. This really did stick to me. So just take this talking headshot as a warning, because this may make a few of you uncomfortable. Let's get to it. In order to kill the daughter, she must have her virginity taken, so Cosimo suggests that it be taken by force. Yes, for her to be raped. The ever so kind and just bishop agrees to these terms and has her turned over to the militia, whom he will offer pardon for raping in order to punish her. And the even more shocking part, it's not just going to be one man, but 208 men to do the job. And the most vile thing about this entire situation is that the daughter being continuously raped by a long line of men isn't even considered the punishment. No, once that's all done, then they'll really get started on her. Apparently, this is justice, according to the theocracy, and just like the fascists that they are, they don't need to justify anything because God is on their side, and to question or defy them is to do so to God himself. This scene is just horrifying. It's lengthy and almost done in one single cut. The daughter screams for mercy and someone to save her. It's just so painful to listen to it. It makes my blood boil how no one is even fazed by this. Everyone just wants to jump in and submit further torture, or they're actually pleased by this because apparently this is all for the righteous cause of punishing a sinner. People are actually keeping tallies of this, the number of men that are raping this poor woman, by taking notes and having these pegs count to make sure that the quota is met. So was that supposed to be some sort of a sick joke? Using the pegs to keep tally about how many times she has been pegged? Against her will? I know she killed a child and she should be punished for it, but no one deserves a fate like this. And there is no reason at all that a bishop should have the authority to command such a thing. All this violence and trauma ends up killing the daughter. This was just beyond cruelty, and they're just okay with it because she was a sinner and they had the divine right to do so. This disturbing scene alone will make a lot of people quit on the film, and I don't blame any of them. But as crazy as it sounds, it still doesn't end here. Because the people who idolize the child like a god decide to strip the child of all of its possessions and even dismember the body, for them to keep and hope that it will bless them to see all of their desires fulfilled. And with this shocking, gruesome, and sickening display of art, the film finally comes to an end. I can't get myself to like this film anywhere near as I love the cook, the thief, his wife, and her lover. I said it before, shock needs to carry substance. It must present something of meaning, contribute to the story. If it only means to shock, then it is nothing of value. While this film does want to present the cruelties of people, no matter their social status, the amount of shock factor does prove to be a little too much for me. I'm not saying it lacks substance in this movie, it does have some value. I'm just saying it's a personal thing with me being unable to handle it. And because it's so severe, I also can't really recommend it to anybody. I think it's worth talking about and I want people to know of its existence, but I don't think anybody will actually enjoy watching this. I don't regret seeing the film, but I really doubt I'll be watching it again anytime soon. I know this all came out confusing, but this movie is really unpredictable. You just have to strap in and let the film take you where it wants to go. While I'm someone that doesn't generally think that art should be banned, I am not at all shocked that this was. The amount of grotesque imagery from so much killing and raping, and of course angering the religious crowd by making them look like cultists in this film and putting the people of the clergy as cruel and wicked men also. This movie didn't make any friends from the public, as you can tell, and no matter how much vileness you will find in this film, there are some things you have to speak well of. There is no denying Peter Greenaway's talent and his vision for the arts, but it's just not for everybody. He did so well making this film look beautiful regardless of his darker contents, and that's why I'll always give his films a chance. But my god, do they really pack a punch. What did you guys think about all this madness? Whether you've seen the movie or not, just based on the video. Was it necessary? Total overkill? Or was the director Peter Greenaway completely within his bounds? I'd like to know in the comment section. Anyways guys, that's gonna be the end of this video right here. I really hope you guys enjoyed the review to the fullest extent and got plenty of value from it. This is probably the darkest film that I've reviewed yet, but it was still definitely worth talking about. One last request, if you guys don't mind hitting the like button, it really helps out the channel. Again, thank you so much for watching. Take it easy, take care, and I'll see you guys next time.